Every story has a beginning, but some beginnings rewrite the destiny of the world. Long before the Quran was recited, long before the call to prayer echoed across the earth, there was silence. A deep, ancient silence in the mountains of Makkah, broken only by the breath of a man searching for truth. He wasn't a king. He wasn't a warrior. He was an orphan who spent nights alone climbing a mountain that scraped the sky, unaware that the greatest moment in human history was waiting for him inside a tiny cave. This is the night everything changed. The night the first light pierced a world drowning in darkness. The night an angel descended with words that would shake nations. To understand the first revelation, we must return to a world before Islam, a world drowning in ignorance, injustice, and spiritual confusion. More than 1400 years ago, the world was drowning in spiritual darkness. Arabia had no prophet for over 6 centuries after Jesus, alayhi salam, and people had filled the Kaaba with 360 idols. Tribal wars, injustice, slavery, and oppression had become a normal way of life. The strong crushed the weak, and moral guidance was almost lost. Yet in this forgotten desert, the final message to humanity was about to begin. Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam grew up different from the people around him. Orphaned at 6, he experienced the pain of loneliness, but Allah protected him and built in him humility, strength, and patience. He never bowed to an idol, never drank alcohol, never lied, and was known everywhere as Al-Aman, the trustworthy. As he approached the age of 40, a deep restlessness grew inside him. He would walk through Makkah disturbed by its injustice, by the arrogance of the rich, by the suffering of the poor, and by a society drowning in false gods. Then something unusual began to happen. Every night he saw dreams that came true exactly as he saw them. For 6 months, these visions continued, preparing his heart for something extraordinary. Unable to bear the corruption of Makkah, he began seeking solitude in the Cave of Hira, a quiet place high on Mount Nur overlooking the Kaaba. He would take food and water and stay for days, meditating on creation, purpose, and the meaning of life, following the last remnants of the teachings of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Then came the night that changed the history of the world forever. A night in Ramadan, most likely Laylat al-Qadr, the night of decree. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam sat alone in the darkness of the cave when suddenly the atmosphere changed. A powerful presence filled the space. Before he could understand what was happening, an unfamiliar being appeared before him. It was Jibreel alayhi salam, Gabriel, the greatest of the angels, standing in a form the prophet had never seen. He grabbed Muhammad and sallallahu alayhi wasallam, squeezed him so tightly that he could hardly breathe, then commanded with a thunderous voice, "Iqra! Read!" Confused and terrified, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam replied, "I cannot read." The angel embraced him again, even harder, and repeated, "Read!" Again he answered, "I cannot read." A third time, the angel pressed him until he felt completely overwhelmed, and then released him and recited the first verses of the Quran. "Read in the name of your Lord who created man from a clinging clot. Read, and your Lord is most generous, who taught by the pen, taught man what he did not know." These 5 verses were the opening of Revelation, the beginning of the Quran, and the announcement of the final prophet to mankind. Shaking in fear, overwhelmed by what he had seen and heard, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam rushed down the mountain. His heart was pounding. He had never experienced anything like this, not a dream, not a vision, but a direct encounter with the unseen. Unsure if something terrible had happened to him, he ran to his home calling out, "Cover me! Cover me!" His beloved wife Khadija wrapped him in a cloak and held him until he calmed down. When he finally spoke, he told her everything. And in that moment, Khadija radiallahu anha showed the wisdom and strength that made her one of the greatest women in history. She said, "By Allah, your Lord will never disgrace you. You maintain family ties, help the poor, support the weak, give to those who have nothing, and always speak the truth." She knew instantly that Allah had chosen him for something far greater than fear. To confirm what happened, she took him to her cousin, Waraka ibn Nawfal, a Christian scholar who had knowledge of earlier scriptures. After listening carefully, Waraka said, "This is the same angel who came to Moses. You, Muhammad, are the prophet of this nation." He then warned him that his people would oppose him because no prophet ever came without enemies. That night marked the birth of a new chapter for humanity. A man who could not read was commanded to read. A man alone in a cave became the messenger of Allah. A world lost in darkness was about to be illuminated by the Quran, verse by verse, for the next 23 years, shaping civilization, transforming hearts, and guiding billions. After the first encounter with the angel in the Cave of Hira, everything changed for Muhammad. Allahu alayhi wasallam. The verses of Iqra were still fresh in his heart. But what followed was one of the most difficult and confusing periods of his life. Revelation did not continue immediately. Instead, it stopped. Days passed, weeks passed. Some narrations say even months passed. This period is known as al-Fatra, the pause, a silence so heavy that it made the prophet fear that Allah had abandoned him. He didn't know if he did something wrong or if the angel would ever return. The world felt quiet, and that quietness made the weight even harder to bear. In this time, the Prophet ﷺ became deeply anxious. He would walk through the valleys of Makkah, climb mountains searching for the presence he felt in Hira, hoping the angel would return. The memory of Jibreel was powerful, overwhelming, and yet the silence that followed was even more overwhelming. Some narrations describe that in his sorrow, he would go to the mountaintops thinking perhaps Allah had turned away from him completely, and every time Allah protected him and brought peace to his heart. It was during one of these days, when he walked alone in Makkah, still troubled by the long silence, that something extraordinary happened. He suddenly heard a voice calling his name from above. He looked up to the sky, and there was Jibreel again. But this time, not inside a cave, not in the form of a man. He saw Jibreel filling the entire horizon, covering the sky from one end to the other. The prophet froze. The sight was overwhelming, majestic, powerful, undeniable. The angel said, "O Muhammad, you are truly the messenger of Allah." Fear struck his heart again, and he ran back home, trembling just as he did the first time. Wrap me," he said. Khadija brought a cloak and covered him, and in that moment, revelation returned, clear, powerful, and direct. "O you who is wrapped up, rise and warn, declare the greatness of your Lord, purify yourself, and stay far away from all evil." With these words, the mission officially began. The time of silence was over. The time of calling had begun. These verses were not just instructions. They were the beginning of Islam as a movement. Rise and warn meant stand up publicly, bravely, and deliver the message. Your Lord, magnify him meant break the idols, reject falsehood, announce the oneness of Allah. Purify your garments meant live a life of complete moral purity, and turn away from evil meant stay distant from the corruption of Quraysh. Muhammad was no longer just a man who saw an angel in a cave. He was now the messenger of Allah, commanded to rise with truth. But he did not begin loudly. For the first 3 years, he called people quietly, privately, and with deep wisdom. He would invite those closest to him, those whose hearts were already pure, those who could understand the message before the storm of opposition began. This was the beginning of revelation. This was the beginning of the Quran. This was the beginning of the final message to mankind. And that was only the beginning. The night of the first revelation was a spark, but what happened after changed the world forever. If you want to know what came next, the fear, the shock, the first reaction of Khadija radiallahu anha, and how the message of Islam truly began, don't miss the next episode. It continues directly from here, inshallah. And hey, if you enjoyed this journey, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next chapter of this beautiful story. Thank you for watching. May Allah bless you, and I'll see you in the next episode, inshallah.